Welcome to Simple Mind Space, the podcast where we explore the fascinating world of personal growth, productivity, and everything in between. Today, we're diving deep into a topic that resonates with all of us: learning new skills. You know that feeling when you stumble upon something intriguing, a musical instrument, a new language, the art of coding, and you're hit with this wave of excitement, this burning desire to master it? But then, just as quickly, doubt creeps in. You think, do I have the time? Is it even possible at this stage of my life? I've been there, trust me. 2 years ago, my world turned upside down in the best way possible. I became a father. My daughter, Leela, became the center of my universe. But as any parent can attest, juggling a newborn and a career, even one as flexible as working from home, can leave you feeling like you're constantly racing against the clock. In those early weeks, fueled by sleep deprivation and a yearning for my own personal growth, a nagging thought took root in my mind. I'm never going to have free time again. How will I ever learn anything new? Driven by this fear, I immersed myself in research, devouring books and articles about skill acquisition. And that's when I stumbled upon the infamous 10,000-hour rule. You've probably heard of it. This idea that mastering any skill, from playing a musical instrument to becoming a world-class athlete, requires 10,000 hours of dedicated practice. 10,000 hours. That's like 5 years of working a full-time job dedicated solely to that one skill. The thought was daunting, to say the least. It felt like a giant no sign flashing before my eyes. I could practically hear the doors to personal growth slamming shut. But here's the thing about those sweeping, often repeated rules. They don't always tell the whole story. As I dug deeper, I discovered that the 10,000-hour rule, while applicable in certain contexts, had been taken out of context and blown out of proportion. You see, the research originated from studying elite performers. Think Olympic athletes, chess grandmasters, renowned musicians. These individuals, competing at the highest levels, often do dedicate a significant portion of their lives to honing their craft. However, the message got distorted somewhere along the way. It morphed from 10,000 hours to reach the pinnacle of a highly competitive field to 10,000 hours to simply learn something new. And that, my friends, is where the problem lies. Because the truth is, you don't need 10,000 hours to learn a new skill. You don't need years of dedicated practice to become proficient in something you're passionate about. So, what does the research actually say about learning new skills? How long does it really take to go from a beginner fumbling in the dark to someone who can confidently navigate their chosen skill? Well, the answer might surprise you. Numerous studies on skill acquisition, whether focusing on physical or mental skills, reveal a fascinating pattern: the learning curve. This curve, often depicted graphically, tells a story of rapid initial progress followed by a gradual plateau. Think about it. When you first start learning anything new, you're bound to be, well, not very good. It's awkward, you make mistakes, and you might even feel a bit foolish. But here's the key. You improve rapidly during this initial phase. With each attempt, each stumble, your brain forms new connections and your muscle memory kicks in. Then, you hit a point where the progress seems to slow down. You're no longer making those huge leaps forward. This plateau can be discouraging, but it's a natural part of the learning process. But back to our original question. How long does it take to reach a level of competency where you've moved beyond the initial frustration barrier and can confidently say, I can do this? The answer, based on my research, is surprisingly attainable: 20 hours. Yes, you heard that right. 20 hours of focused, deliberate practice is often all it takes to make significant strides in learning a new skill. Now, 20 hours might still sound like a lot, but let's break it down. That's roughly 45 minutes a day for a month. If you skip a few days here and there, maybe it stretches to 6 weeks. The point is, it's manageable. It's time we can realistically carve out of our busy schedules. But here's the catch. It's not just about mindlessly putting in the hours. It's about practicing effectively. It's about approaching the learning process with a strategy that maximizes those 20 hours. So how do you do it? How do you make the most of those precious practice hours and accelerate your journey to skill acquisition? Let's break it down into 4 simple, actionable steps. 1. Deconstruct the skill. Before you dive headfirst into practicing, take some time to understand the anatomy of the skill itself. What does mastery look like? What are the individual components that, when combined, create the bigger picture? For example, if you want to learn to play the guitar, break it down, learning chords, strumming patterns, finger dexterity, music theory. By identifying these sub-skills, you can prioritize your practice, focusing on the areas that will give you the most significant return on your time investment. 2. Learn enough to self-correct. Don't fall into the trap of procrastination disguised as preparation. We've all been there. Buying a stack of books, collecting countless online resources, convincing ourselves that we need to absorb all this information before we can even begin practicing. While having resources is helpful, don't let it become an excuse for inaction. The goal is to gather just enough information to start practicing and, more importantly, to recognize and correct your mistakes. This could involve watching a tutorial, reading a chapter in a book, or seeking guidance from a more experienced individual. The key is to shift from passive consumption to active application, using the learning process itself as a tool for continuous improvement. 3. Remove barriers to practice. We live in a world overflowing with distractions. Our phones beckoning with notifications, the allure of social media, the endless stream of content competing for our attention. Creating an environment conducive to focused practice is crucial. This might involve silencing your phone, disconnecting from the internet, finding a quiet space where you can fully immerse yourself in the task at hand, or even using website blockers to keep those tempting tabs at bay. Remember, willpower is a finite resource. The more you can remove the need for willpower by minimizing distractions, the more likely you are to stick to your practice schedule. 4. Commit to at least 20 hours. As we discussed earlier, those initial stages of learning can be frustrating. You're grappling with something new, making mistakes, and feeling like you're miles away from where you want to be. This is where many people give up, discouraged by the slow progress and the discomfort of feeling like a beginner. This is why setting a minimum time commitment is crucial. By pre-committing to at least 20 hours of practice, you're essentially making a pact with yourself to push past that initial frustration barrier. Think of it as an investment. You're investing 20 hours of your time, and in return, you're gaining a new skill, a sense of accomplishment, and the confidence that comes from expanding your horizons. To illustrate this, I'd like to share my own 20-hour challenge with you. You see, I've always been drawn to the unique sound of the ukulele. It's such a cheerful, expressive instrument. So, I decided to put this 20-hour principle to the test. I purchased a ukulele, and as with any new instrument, those first few hours were a mix of fumbling, tuning, and figuring out how to hold the darn thing properly. But I pressed on, breaking down the skill, finding resources, and practicing for at least 30 minutes each day. And you know what? It worked. I recently hit my 20th hour of practice, and while I'm no Jake Shimabukuro yet, I can confidently strum along to a few songs. And that feeling of accomplishment, of seeing tangible progress, is incredibly motivating. So my challenge to you is this. What's one skill you've always wanted to learn? What's something you've been putting off, telling yourself you don't have the time or the talent? Choose that skill, commit to 20 hours of focused practice, and prepare to be amazed by how much you can achieve. Remember, the biggest barrier to learning isn't intellectual, it's emotional. It's that voice of self-doubt, that fear of feeling foolish. But by taking action, by pushing past those initial hurdles, you open yourself up to a world of possibilities. So go out there, embrace the learning process, and remember, it only takes 20 hours. Until next time, keep those minds curious and those skills sharp. And hey, if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with a friend who might need that extra push to embark on their own learning adventure. We're all in this together.